Welcome to Be My Guest, a special series celebrating 25 years of unforgettable moments and the people who made them possible. Every conversation is a tribute to the journey so far and a toast to what's still ahead. Follow or subscribe and be part of our journey. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my next podcast of Be My Guest with Steve Skouras. I am your host, Steve Skouras, and today I have the honor of having a dear friend and oenologist and somebody I've been inspired by many, many years over, Dimitris Skouras. Thank you for coming on the show today. Appreciate you having here. Let's talk a little bit about the family dynamic of your world that you're in today. With Skouras Estate, I go back probably 20 years now. It's one of the first ever wineries that I've ever worked with in Canada, which is very exciting. I started working with your father, who became sort of a very personal mentor to me in the early years when I was very green in this industry. He would always sit me down and kind of set me straight and stuff when it came to he's still like that to this day, which I got amazing, and set me straight and stuff and kind of keep me on a straight and narrow when it came to business, way to do things, way not to do things and stuff. So I owe a big thank you to your father in many, many ways. And I thank you that you're in the industry as well years later, and you're here now kind of carrying the torch for the family in a very positive way. So for that, I'm grateful. I've watched the evolution of the winery for the last 20 years, which has been kind of great to see. The quality aspect just keeps going up and up and up. And, and now you're here today kind of spearheading the whole operation. So a little bit about how you ended up deciding to get into the family business. I know you were born in the vineyards. I pretty much know that with your twin sister. But now you've kind of followed the path of the wine business. And how was that for you going into it?
First of all, thank you for having me, Steve.
My
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure to be here. So how I got into winemaking. I think I would start with the fact that I was always very lucky because my father never pushed it on me. He will never be the kind of parent to say, Dimitris, when you grow up, the winery is what you're gonna do. You're gonna learn this, you're gonna do that. Because I think when you're young, this always creates this how to say it, the opposite action of what they're trying to do. So you're young, you want to revolt, you're gonna do your stuff.
Child and parent, you do the opposite. 100%
Exactly.
yes.
Your parent comes back and say, "Hey, you're gonna do this." You're like, "No, I'm gonna do it my way."
I'm going to remember that for my kids if you're watching this one, Peter and Nicole, that I promise not to do the same thing to you.
And so yeah, even if it's what you want to do, if you're hearing it, you're gonna try and do the opposite.
Got it.
So I was very liking that way. My father was like, "Okay, the winery is it's my dream. It's my toy.
Yeah.
If I want to sell it, if I want to do something else, if I want to grow it, I'll do it. You do you. If you like it, okay. If you don't, do your thing." And well, growing up, I always had a thing for what is chemistry. I loved biology and physics. Everything was like science. And one day, just really wake up and decided in my sleep, I'm going to France. I'm going to study winemaking.
Okay.
And I'm going to do what my father did and follow that way.
Nice.
I don't know why. I know it was just really one day I woke up, decided I'm going to France, started doing French lessons to be able to, because everything was going to be in French.
Of course.
And found out, check which university I can go to, what are the choices. Decided to go to Montpellier.
Okay.
And yeah, finished school, went to Montpellier, stayed there for 5 years.
Your father studied in
My father was up north, he was in Dijon.
Dijon. That's right. Yes.
Yes. And yeah, went there, did like 2 years of viticulture, and then 1 year of chemistry, and then 2 years, which was a bachelor of in winemaking, enology. So the DNO, as they call it in France.
And since graduation, I've been back in the winery working there for how long?
So graduated 2017. I directed the harvest there. I spent some time in Athens working with a completely different company just to get
Okay.
ideas.
Yep.
And then 2018, I spent 5 months harvesting in California.
Nice.
It was an amazing experience.
Yes, I can imagine.
Sonoma and Napa. And then I came back in the beginning of 2019. And since then, I'm at the winery. So I've always been kind of involved even during my studies. I would
Yeah,
travel, I would taste, but the last 7, 8 years, I've been 100% dedicated to winery.
that's amazing. Yeah. And when you first came onto the winery, and you can speak openly to the rest of the world who's listening anyways today, but what were the first things you saw when working in a family business that were a little bit on the challenging side for you? Because I know it can never be easy, especially in a Greek family business. It's never going to be easy.
Again, I would say I was extremely lucky. So what usually happens, and we can see that many, many times in family businesses, is that the one running a show, so in my case, my father, is sometimes the guy, not in my case, but he knows where this is going. He has the experience, and he usually they're very, very difficult, the parents, to change their opinion, but
Hmm.
be open to new things. So I know many, many cases where the son, or especially when it's a girl,
Yeah.
will come and say, "Hey, maybe we should try this. Maybe we should make this kind of wine. Maybe we should do." And the reaction will always be, "I've been doing this for 40 years.
And
I
it
know
works. Yeah.
better. This is doesn't gonna work." Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Probably they're right because they have the experience. So maybe
Fair.
90% they are
Yeah.
right, or at least in the percentage of the scenario, because there's always something to get from an idea. But if you don't leave your son, your daughter to do the mistakes, to try, to fail, not to fail, or guide them in a
Yep.
more friendly way, usually it doesn't work out because they feel like they work under a boss, which is also their father,
Yep.
which cannot
Double trouble in many
be,
ways.
yeah,
Yeah.
cannot be changed. So I was really lucky because I think a lot like my father, and he
Okay.
was really open-minded. Like even times where I would recommend a thing and he'd be like, "No, this is gonna not gonna work." He would go sleep on it and then
Mhm.
become the next day and said, "Okay, I thought about what you said. Let's give it a try. Let's discuss this. How is it gonna work? What are you thinking?"
The new version of George Skouras, because George also may be a very stern man too sometimes, and very strict and very dedicated to your passion and your craft of making killer wines. I hope you're listening. And his sternness and his, I want to say almost stubbornness, is what made him so successful in what he does, because he just set course, and he would follow that course and follow that path, and then end up, creating what he's created over the last 35, 40 years. How long has it been now?
Absolutely. No, he
And so in that sense, it's his sternness has worked in favor, but I'm glad to see that he's also malleable and massageable to allowing the next generation of ideas coming out too, right?
It's exactly what you're saying. So my father always has this kind of dedication, still
Yeah.
has, but at the same time, he remains really open-minded. Like he goes his way, he knows where he's getting, but he will accept the feedback. He will look at it again. He will, um, sleep on it and sleep on it and sleep on it and decide, is that working, is that not working? And always find the way to the target.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something that works really.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about the harvest there is always seeing how your dad would always lift the first crate of the grapes
Yes.
and then dump them in. And that's become like an iconic thing for me to see on video, on Instagram, on video, on YouTube and stuff. And always, I think you recently shared one together.
We always do together. Since I'm there,
Since you're there, it's always
we
together.
don't
Right? Yeah.
have the harvest if we're not both there, both doing the first
Yeah.
great
Yeah. That's an awesome feeling.
and the last.
And the last. Well, there you go. You begin and you end it all from the alpha to the omega, which is a great feeling because it's sort of like hands on, passing the hands of the crate over to the next generation, which is kind of an amazing feeling. And so I really enjoy watching that with your dad. And I've experienced many different things with him and the evolution of the wines and stuff, and the evolution of where you guys are going, the planting of a Syrte grape variety, which we're going to have today, and all the new things you're planning. So let's start by having a little bit of wine today, if you don't mind. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what we're having today
Mhm.
and a little bit about the year, if you can.
Yes, so we're having the Assyrtiko.
Hmm.
Assyrtiko is right now the most famous Greek variety.
Yeah.
This variety originates from Santorini, uh, where they have an amazing terroir. But this Assyrtiko is not grown in Santorini. This is a lovely vineyard that I discovered back in 2017. This is planted at 600 meters of elevation. So it's in the region of Nemea, in a kind of rocky limestone soil. And we have kind of found out that the elevation and that kind of limestone works really well with the acidico. Obviously, it doesn't have the concentration and the minerality we tend to find in Santorini, but it is towards that style of wine. Usually, sometimes the Assyrtiko, when you're not in Santorini, tends to become really fruity.
Yeah,
And this is nothing we don't want to have in our Assyrtiko.
100%.
My definition of Assyrtiko is a wine that's almost a bit rough, a bit
Yeah,
unpleasant in a way.
yeah.
It's not welcoming, When you first try the Assyrtiko, it's mineral, it's rough, it's slightly citrusy, sometimes has
Very high
caramel.
acidity, yeah. Sometimes tannins,
That
yeah.
yes, sometimes it's bitter,
Yes.
but still has this character which I love. So I did this.
It should be the identity of this grape variety, I believe.
Absolutely,
As much as we can hold on to that.
I agree with you.
And when you made, so you're saying you did the study, you were saying?
Yes, I had a small experience of working with Cigalas, which
Okay.
I consider to be one of the best winemakers in Santorini.
Absolutely, yeah.
I spent my harvest of 2014, I think, there. Was working 12-hour shifts, and I couldn't get enough. I loved the working out, going there, coming back in the night, and again and again and again. And that taught me a lot. I understood Santorini and understood the terroir and Assyrtiko. So when I came back and started working in 2017 and found the Assyrtiko, I'm like, I have to try this. I have to
Yeah.
see what the Assyrtiko in Nemea gives us. So I kind of follow the Sigalas protocol slightly more adapted to our region.
Okay.
I always aim for a bit more alcohol because I think that's something that the Assyrtiko needs
So
and
missing elements
supports.
on many Assyrticos in mainland Greece today.
I agree. So
Yeah.
my focus will be around 13, 13.5 is my perfect
Perfect.
spot.
Yeah.
And then we do a whole bunch press to get a bit of extraction, a bit
Okay.
of that side on the agaritic, on the acetic, sorry. And then we just do fermentation, wild ferment, no other yeast. Spend about 6 months on the lees, so we don't want any oil, we just want the purity of the acetic. Then we bottle it and kind of try to release it as late as possible because
What was the first vintage?
2017.
17 was the first vintage. Okay.
Yes.
Because I remember in those years we were talking with you and your father, and the idea was actually, let's be going back to 2015, 16, when you're just starting the whole idea of what is Domaine Skouras going to do when they create an Assyrtiko?
Yeah.
Because you just didn't want to make another Assyrtiko like all the rest. So the idea was we have to make one and say, this is our Assyrtiko. Here it is, parta, and go,
Yes.
sort of thing. And I know there was a bit of, we'll call it debate and stuff, but I think you hit the nail on the head with this wine because it's really, really good. So cheers to that.
Thank you. Cheers. It's actually the first wine I made at the winery.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. So this is all from you, originates from you, the ideas, the thought process, the style, everything.
Yeah. I still
And you
remain
had
the
free
fan.
form to do what you wanted with the wine and stuff, which is awesome.
Yes. It was a really nice experience
Mm.
as an intro to the
Oh,
winery.
it's so beautiful.
I personally believe that the Assyrtiko, at least our Assyrtiko, benefits a lot from the aging. So a thing that happens to me almost every single time we bottle the Assyrtiko
Okay.
is I almost don't like it because we're about to bottle it. He has this more fruity character, more pleasant, more welcoming. This right that this is not really the Assyrtiko, and I always feel like, come on, what would we do wrong? But then 6 months or a year pass into the bottle, and we start seeing that minerality, that kind of diesely character that it
Yeah.
has, and the whetstone like we have it here. And then I say, okay, it was just young.
Oddly enough, I went to Santorini. I've spoken to Sigalas many years over for many different harvests back in the day. And I went to Santorini one time and we sat down and we were tasting wines together. It was right during harvest. So I was helping him out, just free hands, whatever, during harvest and
Mhm.
stuff. And they were talking about it. I said, oh, when are you going to release the wine? Is it going to come out like in 3, 4 months? Oh, he goes, no, no, no. I said, why, Patty? He goes, Santorini should never be released right away. He goes, it needs to go down and sleep, wake up a year later, and then release the fresh wine with no oak, and then let the wine come out a year later. He goes, the Santorini you're going to taste today and the Santorini you're going to taste a year from now is completely different. He goes, and the wine kind of falls asleep for a little while,
Yeah.
and it does its own resting, and then it starts to express itself after 1 year. And I've noticed this as well because this is 2020, but we recently had the 2023 in the market.
Yes.
And it tasted so well. It was unbelievable. Because everyone's saying, oh, it's a bit of an old vintage. I'm like, no, 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 no. I would taste the wine.
Yeah.
It's just fine right now as a 2023 vintage. And everyone tasted it and they're like falling in love with it. And we're actually pointing by the glass in a few cool spots in the city. And the same thing. They're like, taste the wine. Like, see, this wine's amazing. I said, yeah, it's a great wine, great addition to the portfolio and stuff. Away from Assyrtiko now, going back to the roots of Skouras, Ayurhitiko.
Yep.
Kind of reign supreme. You're in the Nemea appellation and stuff. Obviously, you're one of the key winemakers in the region, which is important. What are your thoughts on Identico and the future of Identico? Not just from a Skouras perspective, but as a region goes, as an appellation goes.
as the appellation goes. So Ayurvedico is obviously Nemea. We're talking about the appellation of
Yeah.
Nemea. And it has always been a really, really important appellation. It's probably, surely, the biggest and most important in terms of size red wine appellation.
Okay.
And I think there's nothing coming like second, like by far.
I just heard recently that it's the largest in the Balkans, actually.
It
The
could
largest
be.
red wine appellation in the Balkans,
It could be.
which is
It could easily be.
interesting to hear.
Every other appellation we have in terms of red wines are really, really tiny.
Yeah.
Completely.
Like now says 1/8 Nemea,
Maybe less.
maybe less. Yeah.
Maybe less, but yes, it's exactly that. So it's one of the very few regions, even in Greece, where you go and travel in the region and you see vineyards and planted on the slopes everywhere. It's a
Everywhere.
studio vineyard.
Yeah.
This is very common when you go abroad, but this is not very common when you go to
Correct.
Greece.
Yes. Yes.
You've been to the old appellations, you know it. Sometimes you just go in an appellation, you think, okay, I'm in, I don't know, Nausa, and you see, oh, a vineyard, and then
Yeah.
trees, and then a vineyard over there.
Yeah.
So
If you blink and else is nice, you just drive by the entire appellation sometimes, just realize I just drove through the whole thing sort of thing. Where with Nemea, it's not like that. You're going around and around and around all the way up to higher elevations,
yes,
etc.
exactly. So Nemea, what I'm saying with that is that it is this region that is really focused into vineyards. It has a huge history. I think it's been growing wine more than 2 millennia.
At
Or
least. At least.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, that's what we know of. And Agricultico has played a huge role for so many years in wine. So I think this is a region that has this huge complexity
Yes.
that makes it sometimes very difficult. Because, you go to Santorini, you try 3 aceticos, you know the acetic of Santorini.
Yeah.
It's done.
You're done.
You're done. You understand it.
Yeah.
You go to Nemea,
Class dismissed. Yeah. I
you
agree.
try 10 Agriculticos, you're even more confused than you were.
And if you leave from one estate and you go to another estate tasting the same grapevine, you're like, okay, what the hell just happened right now? This tastes nothing like the previous estate kind of thing, right? So it's even more versatile as well. I can say that though, because you make it light body, medium body, full body reds, very age worthy reds, and rosés from Identico are also a very pleasant wine to enjoy. It also works great as a blending varietal too.
Absolutely.
It tends to work really well with a lot of different varietals. Let's go back into the actual portfolio. You know that I'm a huge fan of Skouras Grand Cuvée Nemea. I've been one for forever and a day sort of thing. And it was one of the wines that I tasted many, many moons ago with your father. I think I was in Provine, I believe, and I tasted the wine with him and I was like, holy shit, what is this? Like, this is crazy how good it is. Because the label's just, a very dark, simple label, has a signature on there. And I didn't think much of the wine. And then I tasted the wine and I'm like, Christ, this is incredible. I'm like, George, tell me about this wine. So he kind of explained it all to me and stuff. And I love the powerness of that wine, the power, the rawness of the wine, the breadth of the wine, and the tannins in that wine are so firm and so nice. And then I find if producers can make more styles like that, I think the appellation of Nemea has a very bright future as far as being on a global scale and making, beautiful, powerful red wines. But on the flip side, we taste, the Square St. George, and it's an equally pleasant wine serving its purpose every day, and you can just sit back and have a bottle without even worrying about having food, no food, great paella and stuff, with your friends and whatnot. It works out great. I know you've kind of inherited a lot of the labels that have come into the winery, and you're trying to start your own labels and stuff. But from the wines that you have in the portfolio you've inherited over the last, say, 10, 15 years, what are some of your favorite wines that you like in the portfolio?
It's a difficult question always. Okay, first thing first, I'll go with the Megasinos.
Beautiful wine.
It's a wine that has
Classic.
huge history. I mean, really emotionally attached to that wine because this is the first wine my father made since 1986.
Yeah.
Oh, this year it's gonna be like 40 years of Megasinos continuously, made in the same way from the same vineyard. Very few wineries, not just in Greece, but maybe among all over the world, are able to tell a story of 40 years old.
Correct.
And to me, this is very, how to say, I'm really attached to that wine.
It's an iconic wine, let's be honest. Anywhere in the world you go, when you sit on the label, doesn't matter where I am, I know exactly what I'm getting, and it's the first one that I go and order because I know what to expect from the wine.
Yes.
There's no guesswork. It's always good. And if it's not good that year, you don't make it,
Yes.
right?
This has
Which is
happened
important.
once.
Once. Your father told me this too.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about Labyrinth.
Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a very interesting project my father started, and I loved how it developed. So what he did is back in when the Megasinos of 99 vintage was ready, we bought this lovely big barrel, a foudre, as they call it
Mm-hmm.
in French. Takes about 1,000 liters.
Mm-hmm.
What he did is that before we bottled the Megasinos of 99, we filled up that foudre
Of 99.
of the
Okay.
vintage of
So
99.
we're going back 27 years now.
Yes.
Yeah.
A year goes by, and then the vintage of 2000 of Megasinos is ready. So what he did before he bottles that is that he takes a part out of the, let's say 40% of the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and then he tops it up with the next vintage of 2000. So you have in one single fudo the 99 Megasinos, about 60%, and the 40% of the 2000.
Okay.
And then he did the same thing in 2001, and then 2002, and 2003, and 2004 and 5, he released the first
You're obviously
other,
removing 40% of the two vintages and then
exactly,
40% of the three
every single
vintages,
year.
etc. every single year. Yeah.
40% gets out and then gets replaced by the next vintage. So we ended up releasing the first time in 2004, I think, or 5, the first Labyrinth, which was the wine from that barrel, just a small amount, the 4% that it gets taken out, was bottled. So you had all the vintages of 99 up to 2005.
Okay. So 6 years.
And then we did the same thing with 6, 2007, 2009, and
So
right
the
now
99 is always a starting point.
always, because
Okay.
it doesn't ever get removed, it just gets mixed up.
Yeah.
So obviously the percentage gets lower and lower and lower,
Of course.
never zero. And then right now Labyrinth gets released and we have what, 24 vintages at
Wow.
the same time in one bottle. So every year we make around 1,000 bottles. Every 10 years we cut the foudre in two and we have two new foudres.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that's go really, really slow growing. So it's a big challenge. We have a multi-vintage wine that goes back from 99 to today. And you have to keep that barrel the same and keep it clean
Yeah.
without any
A
problems.
lot of work. Yeah.
And every time we do something with the Labyrinth, we just or take it out to clean the foudre or we
Mhm.
prepare it for bottling. Our heart's like, we have to be really careful not to mess this thing up because
Yeah.
cannot even spare a few just dropping on the ground. You have to be really, really meticulous, really, really careful, and always really, really clean, which is really important.
But that's the philosophy of the winery forever, though.
Absolutely.
Forever and a day, even prior to you being there. I remember your father always, instilling to me that cleanliness in the winery is the most important thing for us as at the estate goes. And I look back at the Labyrinth. I've tasted many different vintages of the wine. I love the fact we get to taste it from the barrel when we're down there in the winery visiting, which is great. And you think of all the work that goes into that, how many years of dedication you've put into this, and yet still, I'm not saying raise the price, but yet still, I think it's a very solid value for money wine at the $150 price point, which is what we sell for here in Canada. And I think to myself, what I need to pay $150 for from other countries like, say, Napa Valley, France, Italy, etc., they don't even compare as far as the quality goes, or as far as the overall cost to produce the wine goes, right? And I still think that it's one of the most exceptional red wines of Greece, very unique, and it's a great value for money at the $150 price point, right? Which is kind of neat. And that said, if you go to the other extreme of the winery, down to the Cuvée Prestige wines that we have, again, super good value for money wines that are retailing for under $20, which is awesome. And any consumer can have them and say, wow, I had a great glass of wine at a lower price point. Do you find that is your idea now or your vision for the winery to like expand your range or to shrink the range?
Good question.
And that's going to lead into another bigger question for you later on. So be careful what you
Right.
say.
I'll explain. My idea right now on the winery is I don't want to grow the range.
Okay.
Because I think we're already at a really nice number, and it's really easy as a winemaker to grow it. You make wine every year. You find this lovely vineyard of Ayurvedico, of Malavosia, whatever. You bring it in, you ferment it. It's amazing. You want to bottle, you want to sell it, you want to show to the world. But you grow up your line with another extra wine, and then you do the same thing the next year and next year. It's very easy, to get inspired, get creative, and want to show what you made. So I want to be really, really careful of what I'm bottling and show because I want it to have a really nice meaning, like a wine that's missing, a wine that people has to try it and make it year after year after year. Not just something just discovered, it's nice this year, maybe not the next year,
Mm-hmm.
or it's not my vineyard. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to be really careful of which wines I'm bottling and showing because I want them to have a meaning, like being a serious wine in terms of it's maybe filling a void, maybe showing a style and of a variety that I consider to be very qualitative, and it's missing from the market. So really tiny choices and
Yeah,
meticulous. So I'm not trying to make it bigger. I'm not trying to make it like shrink it right now. I'm staying stable and kind of weighting my choices.
of course, of course, of course. Yeah, and so to your point, I was recently in Verona and I went to a winery called Quindodecimo at their booth,
Hmm.
and I spoke to the enologist there. Very nice man, and he has 8 labels,
Yes.
and he's been making the same 8 labels for it. No, it's taken him 30 years to get to 8 labels, and he stopped at 8 labels. And I said to him, "Why don't you make more wines, different styles?" He goes, "No." He goes, "I make 8 labels, and my goal every year is to make them slightly better each year. And these are the 8 labels that I produce." So it's kind of the same as what you're saying, I guess,
Yeah.
in a sense that here's what I make. Let me just make it slightly better, because you can always chase trends and start making anything you want, right? But then you go down rabbit holes and stuff that kind of veers you away from your vision and your focus on what you're trying to do. And the point is to stay focused on the quality, as Ike also told me, a quality of life too, right? It's not just quality of the wines, you're making quality of life. So, you don't want to become that multi-million-dollar, multi-million bottle brand, and then you've lost the quality of life and the meaning of what you're trying to do in this world, which is really exciting. Where do you see the youth today in Greece and abroad when it comes to Greek wine? Youth, because I know you're 32 years old, so you're in that realm of just getting into the whole wine world, not as a winemaker, as a consumer, I'm talking now.
Yes, it's actually a really nice question. So let's talk about Greece for a moment. What I'm seeing in Greece right now is something that I love. I think the level of understanding it and the amount of people that are into wine, young people, are is amazing. So
Hmm.
because of kind of was born into the wine business, I was able to even from a young age attend some fairs, wine shows, stuff. And I remember seeing people back at the time, usually older, holding the glass like that, entering in their wine shop, like, give me red. They didn't care what it was, the varieties, whatever. Now, fast forward almost 20 something years ago, here, today, I'm going to one show in Greece and I see so many young people, not just professionals of the wine, there's people that are interested into wine. They're walking with their glass like that. They have notes and they come to me and be like, hi, do you have any Xenoma, bro? Maybe I don't have Xenoma, it
Which
doesn't
is
matter.
fine.
But they're
The question
looking
is being
for the
asked. Yes,
variety.
100%. Yeah.
They want to know what they're drinking and
Yeah.
asking, okay, I'm trying different agriticos. What do you have? What do you make? Teach me. And they're so curious into, they understand the wine. They
Yeah.
want to be more part of the wine and drink it and enjoy it. And I think it has changed completely from what it was a few years ago. So I think wine is getting more and more popular in Greece,
Yeah.
and people are learning about it and drinking it and understanding it, and they like it very much as a drink. So I think the level is getting higher and higher and higher in
For,
terms of
for those who are getting into
consumers.
the wine world, I agree with you totally. And I was just recently in Norama in Greece, and I remember walking around the room thinking, is it possible the average age has probably dropped by like 10 years?
Yes.
Like if you go back just 10 years ago to Norma, it's the same people. I could have recognized probably 200, 300 people in the room, the same people over and over again. This time around, this year, for whatever reason, I didn't recognize many people in the room. And the average age was much younger, which is great. And the other thing that I'm a big champion of this, and I'm a big fan of this too, is females in the wine industry.
Yes.
I love the fact that I'm seeing more females getting into the wine industry. I love the fact that I'm seeing more females slowly becoming educated in wine and also becoming sommeliers or even wine buyers, right? And then it's one of the things that I noticed in some of the markets that I was in visiting all the trade shows this year is that, like, yes, there's more females in the wine industry, but when you look, when I was in Verona, for example, I looked at all the people who are going to the booths as buyers. It's still male dominated buyers in the market, right? And I would love to see if the market can shift towards having more female buyers in the market, and then kind of see if the shift towards what style of wines they'd be looking to promote to the audience out there could be different, right? Because we all know that the consumption of wine is changing fast,
Hmm.
very fast. I'm not going to hear in negative horror stories, oh, wine's dying, whatever, because it's not dying. It's just changing and evolving. It's losing some market share to other consumable goods, but it's losing it to who? It's losing it to like inexpensive wines
Hmm.
are going to be losing market share to what? To weed, to ready to drink, to cocktails, to non-alcoholic, right? To other consumption, or just not drinking wine at all, period, right? Just avoiding alcohol, right? So
Yes.
the bottom end of the equation is in turmoil because it's competing with many other factors that we haven't had to compete with before. So that volume of wine will eventually crater in. Whereas on the flip side, if you're drinking, a nice bottle of Burgundy, you're not going to substitute it with a non-alcoholic wine. It doesn't work. You're still going to drink the same wine of Burgundy and then pay more for it, if anything, right? Sort of thing, right? So the middle tier, which Greece does really well in,
Mhm.
and then the upper tier of the wine world, still think are very solid as far as the categories go. And Greece has a very positive outlook, I believe, on where it's going as a country. It's the bottom tier that I know will be a big challenge with a lot of vineyards. Like they're uprooting vines in California right now.
Yes.
Australia, New Zealand,
Bordeaux.
so Bordeaux. Bordeaux has that challenge for many, many years. Although I did hear recently, watching a few channels, that Bordeaux is stabilizing now slowly.
I know they're taking out the vineyards as we speak, but I think they kind of did the market thing. They lowered their prices. They're trying to be
Yep.
more accessible, and because Burgundy is always getting more and more expensive,
Yes.
people and some are actually starting to believe that there are more and more Bordeaux to be found at a great price and deliver that quality that you cannot find anymore for that
Which
price.
is ultimately where Bordeaux should have always been priced, to be honest. It
Yeah.
got a little crazy for a while there, right? And now I think it's kind of just getting back and finding its rightful place and rightful price points, which is important. If you had something to say towards the youth, young consumers today
Yeah.
for wine, what would that be?
Hmm. I think what I would say is that if it's possible for young people to try and get into the wine world. So the wine world for me used to be maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a bit snob.
100%.
Few people know
Many
about the
ways
wine,
still is.
and the guys that knew about the wine would be a bit, oh, you haven't had Chardonnay. Oh.
I've been told this many times over.
Yes.
Oh, you don't
And I
drink
think
this wine, you don't drink that wine. Okay.
this is changing, and there are movements that I'm maybe not part of, or maybe not the big fan of. It's like the natural wine. Okay, natural wine is a big thing, etc. But I'm really happy natural wine exists because I think has brought a lot of young people into the wine category.
Yeah.
Because yeah, okay, but there's a mix up with the natural. Let's not maybe go into that rabbit hole, but people that heard natural wine, they were eager to try it. It seemed to be as a more friendly, open,
Yeah.
not snobbish kind of side. And I think that brought people into the wine and made them maybe check other ones as well.
What I saw in the Quebec market with the natural wine movement was that consumers in general are more into the health and wellness side of life. So they all deem natural as being, oh, it's natural. It's got to be good for me, sort of thing. So I'll
Yeah.
have this wine instead of that wine.
Yeah.
The reality is, in my humble opinion, I don't even like most of the natural wines in the market,
Hmm.
to be honest with you. And I don't think they're doing a service to the qualitative side. But when you do swing the pendulum back into the normal wine world,
Hmm.
you realize, okay, there's some exceptional wines out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's brought more exposure, as you said, to the wine world for us, the natural wine movement has. And if there's one thing that'll come out of that, I think it's exactly that, is that we'll get more young consumers in the market. And I do think that young consumers are slowly getting in the market. They've just been a little bit nervous because they've also been tainted, in all fairness, by their parents' generation or others about the whole wine world and what it meant, from a status symbol. We're drinking this wine tonight, we're drinking that wine tonight, right? So people have always, we say in Greek how you eat meat, which is the status of having keres on the table every day, or having meat on the table. Where in the wine world, I'm drinking, French wines today, California wines today, Italian, Barolos, Amarones, etc. So you kind of had a status symbol thing going on,
Hmm.
and the kids don't like that.
I agree.
They don't like that at all. They don't even like thinking about that, and because they're very more on the humble side of life, so they don't like thinking about that. So if we can just lower that guard for a minute and say, let's just have the wine because it's good, not because it's from Bordeaux, and then allow the kids to enjoy the wine, it's a mission accomplished. So one of the things I've seen recently was, every time we talk about wines, even from the liquor boards and what they want to present to the young youth, they want to have wines with like animals on them or caricatures on them, or just fun wines, easygoing wines, and playful wines. Most of the wine inside the bottle, though, is shit.
Yeah.
It's not even drinkable. Or if it is drinkable, it's barely drinkable. But they think they're fooling the generation by having those wines. And when the younger generation drinks those wines, they don't like them. And like, you know what? I don't like this wine. I'm going to go back to whatever else consumed before.
Hmm.
And they stay there. I've never opened a good bottle of wine and sat down with a 25-year-old and they told me the wine wasn't good. Never, not even once. You open a nice bottle of wine for a 25-year-old and say, let's have a glass of this Assyrtiko. They stop and say, what is this? What am I drinking here? All of a sudden, there's character, there's aromas they haven't had before, all the beautiful, beautiful wine. So every time I open up a nice bottle of wine, so my recommendation, everybody listening out there, please, if you're trying to get the youth into the wine world, open up a good damn bottle of wine and sit down with them over a meal and say, let's have this beautiful wine from wherever in the world and see how fast they say, wow, that's great wine. What else can I taste? I see my kids.
Yes.
My kids are a little bit spoiled because from a young age, I've always brought them over to your winery because it's always like our stop in the mornings heading into the Peloponnese is Skouras Estate. So now they kind of look forward to being at the winery and they taste some really nice wines. Even though they're just getting into the whole idea of wine now, the point is when they drink the good stuff, it's like, I want to keep drinking the good stuff. And that's one of the ways to get, I believe, the youth into the good, into the wine world. And I think we're doing a great job at it in Athens. There's a lot of cool wine bars that I see trending quite a bit all throughout Athens, and many of the younger generation, actually of all ages, they're visiting the wine bars. Whether you're 25 or 75, everyone's at the wine bars right now enjoying nice wines, which is kind of a great idea. And the sommelier world in Athens is blowing up quite a bit as well, which is exciting.
Yeah. So
And
to answer your question, because I kind of left in the middle, my recommendation for the youth would be to, if you can, please try and get into the wine world. At the beginning, it seems maybe difficult. There's too much information going on. It's confusing. But I think once you understand just the basics of
yes,
what wine is, there's nothing that you can drink and kind of reward you as much. The complexity that there is into the wine that makes it difficult, at the same time, it makes it really pleasurable. There's nothing you can take a glass without know nothing about where it is, what bottle was. Smell it, tasting, and you can maybe end up finding which country makes it, which producer, which region, which variety, even sometimes the vintage. So, getting out of there is nothing you can taste and go into that much detail. Just
correct.
taste and odor. And if you're asking me, I think in a way, wine is kind of the only way to go growing older. What I mean is that when you're in 20s, you're going out, you're drinking cocktails, and that's your life. And it makes absolute sense. And it's easier to like the spirits because, of course, this is gin, this is vodka. You taste them, you either like them or don't like them, and you understand the concept. Wine is not like that. But when you're growing older, maybe 30, 35, and you start maybe having children, getting married, whatever that comes, your way of having fun changes.
Correct.
What is having fun then? It is probably 95% of the time in a restaurant or at your house,
Yep.
eating with friends.
Yep.
And what are you gonna drink eating with friends? Almost 95% of the time, wine.
You're not popping a bottle of vodka or
Exactly.
something else. Yes.
Wine doesn't have a lot of alcohol, so you can enjoy it without getting too drunk or being too much into the alcohol. At the same time, you can have a long course of enjoying a glass of wine instead of having like cocktails.
Or even different wines too, which is kind of nice throughout the night.
Exactly. And this is what pairs best with food.
Yeah.
Wine. So I think it's kind of the only way to go if you're drinking alcohol and growing older. And it's something that can reward you and can enjoy it. I've had times that I'm having this glass of wine,
Yeah.
and I'm so happy just of this glass of wine because I opened the bottle that I consider to be really nice, an amazing variety, an amazing producer. And I was just amazed and looking at my glass saying, wow. So I hope for everyone to feel this.
Of course. And one of the things I appreciate about you too is that whenever I see what it is you're drinking, for lack of a better term, I love the fact that you always post about or talk about or and whatnot about all the different wines around the world, whether it's France, whether it's Italy, whether it's Spain. Like a good bottle of wine too is a good bottle of wine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to always be Greek or it doesn't have to always be from Domaine Skouras.
Absolutely.
It just needs to be a good wine from a great place, and then away we go sort of thing, which is a great feeling. And I love seeing that because it tells everybody that there is a human side to what we're doing, right? And everyone can make good wines all around the world, right? And that's what kind of gets us all into the whole state. But that being said, I thank you for being here today. I'm going to say it in front of the camera, George Skouras, if you are listening to this, please, I would love to have you on my podcast one day, the two of us, and I promise to open some very old back vintages of what you have in my home waiting, and I'd love to have you on here as well, so we can have both of you even on here one day and have a family affair here on that note. But Dimitris, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Great being here. So the next episode, everyone, see you then. I am Steve Skouras from Be My Guest.